The Nigerian Labour Congress has launched nationwide protests over rising insecurity. In the state capitals, Labour leaders and members condemned ongoing banditry, kidnappings and killings. In Abuja, the NLC President Joe Ajero led the protest, joined by civil society groups including Omoyele Sowore and the Revolution Now movement. Security agents were on ground to maintain order. The NLC says the protests are meant to pressure the government into taking firm, lasting action to tackle insecurity.
Members began to gather at the Nigerian Labour Congress headquarters as early as 8 a.m. The national president of the NLC had earlier briefed journalists a few moments earlier ahead of his meeting with the Nigerian Governors Forum, saying that the action has become necessary after several attempts to engage the president on the state of the nation proved abortive.
This protest is to call attention on the seriousness of both financial and fiscal insecurity. And you can see from him even agreeing to talk with us yesterday, he's getting momentum. And as we progress, the awareness and consciousness will be created. So I don't see why, people will try to demarcate themselves.
While the leadership of the Congress were still in consultation with the Governors Forum, members of the NLC took to the streets around the headquarters, marching through adjoining areas, including the Federal Ministry of Finance, before returning. The entire march was accompanied by scores of security operatives, including officers of the Nigerian Police Force, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and other agencies. Some leaders of the NLC also addressed journalists at the end of the march.
Our leaders, as we are doing our protest here, they are also doing stand up here to demand from the state governors, to demand from the local government, to demand from the federal government the need to step up the security of our country.
We have no control on when that meeting will end. So there is no point keeping all of us here forever. Thank you very much for coming. God bless you.
In Abuja, for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
In Kogi State, the NLC there joined the national protest demanding urgent action on insecurity. The protest ended at the government house in Lokoja, where Labour leaders submitted a letter of demands warning that developments can't happen without safety. The NLC State's chairman, Gabriel Amari, warned or called for stronger security efforts while acknowledging the state's steps so far and urging more community involvement. Responding for Governor Usman Ododo, Security Advisor Jerry Omodara outlined ongoing operations, arms recoveries, and stressed the need for federal support to clear criminal hideouts in the state.
Here, to draw the attention of government across all levels of the primary responsibility of any government to protect and ensure the security of well-being of the citizenry. We cry out, we speak out, and we demand a reversal in the rising wave of insecurity in the country. We demand for justice for Nigerian workers whose losses and dislocation cannot be measurable. We demand for a change in the ugly narrative.
The governor asked me to inform you that he will not betray the NLC. He will ensure he continues to work harmoniously with the union. He also wants me to express his appreciation of the peaceful protest this morning, which is across the nation. We appreciate the deep knowledge of information contained addressing security in the nation, and particularly Kogi State. According to him, we will not relent in our effort. We are investing heavily on human intelligence in the 239 wards in Kogi State. And that is why you are seeing the victory being recorded today in Kogi State. The IG deployed helicopter, I'm sure you will be seeing a lot of the helicopter flying here. The helicopter will be back here in days again. We are dealing with them. We are having our structure on ground to ensure that they don't take over our forest. We will push them out. We will also call on the Nigeria Air Force to please help us to come with their technical know, their capital assets.
Away from the NLC protest, or staying with the NLC protest rather, in Lagos, the group of protesters marched through Island Avenue from Ikeja Underbridge all the way to the Lagos State House of Assembly to press home their demands for an end to insecurity in the country.
People are now afraid to move out of their homes and go to their places of work or where they ply their trade. People are afraid. Some people that their hobby is traveling. They have not struck it off from their hobby. You are afraid. You don't know whether as you are moving out of your home, you are returning back to one peace. You are afraid of kidnapping. You are afraid of ritual killings. You are just afraid. And what about the government? They take an oath. The oath is to protect lives and property. So we want to use this to be a wake-up call to those who are the leaders in the country to wake up to their responsibility of securing lives and property. This is December. Many people want to travel to village to go and celebrate.
When this story broke, many wondered when they'll hear from the other side of the camp. Well, this is our reply. The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Ahmed Farouk, has dismissed corruption allegations by Dangote Group Chairman Aliko Dangote as wild, spurious and unfounded. In a personal statement, Farouk said he didn't authorize any earlier responses and would wait for a formal investigation rather than trade words publicly. Dangote had accused him of economic sabotage, alleging that regulatory actions were stalling local refining. The dispute began in July 2024 when Farouk questioned the quality of Dangote refinery products, a claim Dangote refuted with independent test results. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Dangote Group has submitted a petition through his lawyer, Ogu Onoja, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, accusing Mr. Farouk of corruption and financial impropriety. Now, to further discuss this, I'm joined by Barry Kingdom in the studio and Nekabari Anna, both legal practitioners. Nekabari Anna joins us virtually, but Barry Kingdom is here in the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians.
And Mr. Anna, are you there? Let's be sure that we have you.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's good to have you. Okay, so let me start with you, Mr. Kingdom. When this, how do I call it? When this story broke, for us we call it a story, when it broke, there were a lot of people wondering, what's going on? Why now? What has happened? For something that started in 2014. What's your take?
Yes, what is going on now is further showmanship, and the people that were at the helm of affairs are people that are still at the helm of affairs of our downstream, mid and downstream petroleum sector. The corruption, that is embedded in the sector. This is the same Farouk, that presided over the subsidy, saga, that was shrouded in complicated, secrecy, and marred by corruption. The reason why, the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed fuel subsidy, and that is the reason Nigerians are suffering the way we are suffering. So in a very same climb, where things operate, where the rule of law operates, this man should have, by now step aside, to allow and give the independent corrupt practice, the adequate opportunity, to thoroughly investigate, the allegation by no other less person than Aliko Dangote himself, who is now a very big player in the industry. So the issue of Dangote allegation must not be swept under the carpet. That is why some of us in the civil society, we as lawyers in defense of democracy and the rights of all international, we have filed a suit, at the Federal High Court to compel the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to immediately suspend him. I mean, the authority chairman, the authority CEO, to suspend him immediately, so that to allow the ICPC free hand, to investigate, because the ICPC might need to come to the office, to investigate, certain files and all that, So it shows complicated secret. It shows the show of shame. It shows how far corruption has dealt with us as Nigerians. And of course, you see the Hugomo.
Just hold on 1 second. Let me just bring in Nekabari. Nekabari, so there are those who believe that this is unnecessary, that Mr. Farouk is capable of paying for this? I mean, having spent over 30 years in the oil and gas industry and grown through the ranks to, I mean, being one of the general managers or managing directors at one of the subsidiaries of the NNPCL, he's well able and capable of paying for this, of spending some amount of money to train his children. Would you doubt that?
Thank you very much for the question. It's important for us to emphasize that public commentators should approach a rather balanced approach when talking about some of these issues that affect the character and integrity of public office holders. First of all, there is a presumption of innocence. While I am not holding brief for Mr. Farouk, it's important for us to note that if my learned friend on the other side is asking that Mr. Farouk should resign because of the allegations made against him by the richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, that will be preposterous. Because it will also amount to asking the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to resign anytime somebody makes an allegation against him. Aliko Dangote has done the right thing in going ahead to send the letter to the ICPC. But what gives me deep concern is the fact that if you send the petition to the ICPC, why are you publicizing it? It makes me feel that there is another agenda. Blackmail. Is blackmail playing itself here? Now, to your question, it's important for us to note that Mr. Farouk has spent over 30 years of his life in the petroleum industry. Let us not forget that having spent most of his life in the petroleum industry, there is no record to show that Mr. Farouk has not been engaged in any other form of business than being a civil servant strictly. As a civil servant, the law did not say you cannot do any other business. Let us please note that Dangote has said he's going to supply the necessary details to the ICPC. Nigerians will be waiting for him to supply those details to the ICPC. For now, I think, yes, please.
Nakabari, I just want to stop you somewhere there because you said the law doesn't allow civil servants to do any of that business. I think the only thing that they are allowed to do as civil servants is farming. And if we want to go by that.
Even if we want to talk about farming, there is no record showing that Mr. Farouk is not a farmer.
Okay.
Yes, the law allows civil servants to do farming. And for record's sake, farming is big business.
Indeed.
It is important for us to just tarry a little, let us wait a little for the investigation to take place, instead of us to start taking sides and distracting the Nigerian midstream, downstream petroleum regulatory authority from the laudable work that they have been doing.
Okay. All right.
Look, it's important for us. Let me just point out one point. It was easy for me to come to the point where I will be having this virtual interview because of the effective supply chain management that the Nigerian midstream, downstream petroleum regulatory authority has put in place. Look, there have been lots of progress under Mr. Farouk. Yes, Mr. Farouk is not a perfect person, but has he made significant progress? Yes. Has a renewed hope agenda as it affects the liberalization of the petroleum industry worked? Yes. Let us note that still under this same Mr. Farouk, 83 companies have been awarded licenses to own their own refineries. Is Dangote's fight against Mr. Engineer Farouk likely trying to stall him from further liberalizing the sector? Is Dangote afraid of competition? Well, we do not know, but it's important for us to allow the investigation at the ICPC to roll out and let the law take its course.
Okay, so we're not exactly like trying to stop the investigation, but we just want to clarify on some things here and look at some things deeply. Now, one of the things you mentioned is that petition has been made public. I haven't seen a public petition yet. Have you, Barry, have you seen a public petition?
Yes, the counsel to Dangote addressed the press after submitting the petition to ICPC. So it is the content, that was published, as by the press, that such a petition has been submitted. Of course, such a petition having been submitted is not a public document, and we have applied and we've written a letter to, for certified true copy of the said petition. It's a public document that is with ICPC. So of course, it is subject to investigation. So we will be waiting for ICPC to reply and to tell us the reasons why they would either give us a certified true copy or why they would not give us certified true copy. But what we are saying in essence is that the code of conduct, for public officers, as contained in the fifth schedule of the Constitution, is very clear. In paragraph 1, no public officer should put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts with his official duties. And of course, paragraph 3 is very clear, that no public officer, including the president, the vice president, governors and deputy, and every other public officers as established by the Act of the National Assembly, including Mr. Farouk, who is heading an agency, a midstream and downstream, should operate a foreign bank account. So this call for question: how did he pay the school fees, of his children? Did he pay it by virtual transfer, or is he operating a foreign bank account, which is, unconstitutional, by virtue of paragraph 3 of the fifth schedule of the 1999 Constitution, Code of Conduct for Public Office. And of course, there are things that are circumstantial. This man worked, all his life, for over 30 years, like my colleague said, in the oil and gas sector, in public institutions. He has not done any, we don't have any record of private business that he has done. He has not told us one or two companies where he's a managing director, or whether those companies are related to agriculture or whatever that the law did not prohibit. So how do you have that kind of money, over $7 million, to pay the school fees of your children abroad? Not other, that $7 million is not about the money he spends at home, eating or other things, or other expenditure. This is just school fees for his children. So how do the amount, acquire such humongous amount of money to spend on school fees alone? So it calls for thorough investigation, and that's why we are saying that in an ideal society, he should step aside, to allow for thorough investigation, so that ICPC will have free hand to investigate. He should step aside.
Barry, we will come back.
The president should suspend him, forthwith. That's what we are saying.
Okay, we will come back to this conversation, but we'll take a moment. I'll go on a quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back. I still have the two legal practitioners in the studio and one veteran with us for the 6th edition. Barry, before we went on that break, Barry had asked that Mr. Farouk, Engineer Farouk, should step aside, like it will be applicable in the SENA environment. He should step aside so that he give room for adequate investigations. Do you agree with him?
I absolutely disagree with my learned friend on that. My learned friend knows that there is a presumption of innocence. When somebody is accused of a criminal offense, the law presumes him innocent. In fact, this presumption of innocence is not only in Nigeria, it's all over the world. It's the standard in criminal jurisprudence. He is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Mr. Farouk does not work for the ICPC. There is no way his suspension will benefit the ICPC. The ICPC will do their investigation. If Mr. Farouk is found to be interfering with the investigation, then there can be calls for him to be suspended or for him to step aside. But Mr. Farouk has said he's willing to subject himself to this investigation. So asking him to step aside is like double jeopardy. We should allow him to concentrate in doing the work the president has given him to do. We should concentrate on allowing him to build cleaner energy in Nigeria. We should concentrate on allowing him to continue to partner with stakeholders through the partners initiative that he has introduced. We should not remove Mr. Farouk at this time because of the regulations the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority is introducing for the safety, for the health of Nigeria, to make Nigeria a key player in renewable energy, in cleaner energy, in cleaner refining, and all of those things. Now, very soon, as someone who follows the system, I know very well that there's going to be lots of stakeholders engagement. The removal of Mr. Farouk at this time is going to seriously impact on that stakeholders engagement and affect the progress that this regulator is doing in the industry.
Okay, so
let all those who have concerns, let all those who have concerns come out and say the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has not performed under Mr. Farouk. As a matter of fact, I know for a fact that every public office holder who performs very well is deeply criticized. Okay. That was how some time ago, some person said the minister for the FCT gave his son a land worth over 2,000 acres in Metama. I challenge anyone.
You're going somewhere else now. You're taking us to another matter. You know, Nekabari, if we get into this,
available like that. It's important for us not to come on air and spread propaganda.
Nekabari,
let the ICPC do their jobs.
All right, so let's round off in this way in 20 seconds each. the Kabari had alleged that Mr. Dangote might be looking to slow down or truncate the emergence of more local refineries that have been given licenses. But you have said this is a necessary thing that he steps aside, and he said he shouldn't step aside. So in 30 seconds, and your closing statement, gentlemen, what should we do, beginning with you?
Well, first of all, I want to disagree with him. Yes, well, there's presumption of innocence. Presumption of innocence has to do with the trial in court, that you are presumed innocent before the court until you are proven guilty. That is to say, the court has not pronounced you guilty. It doesn't have to do with the practice or what is ideal in a sense society. Even in the society where Farouk Lawan has sent his children to go and study, in that kind of society, a man that is holding public office that cannot account for such huge amount of money to pay for a children's school fees abroad would have resigned within the next 24 hours of this allegation.
All right,
I mean, in the society where he has sent his own children to. So it is only in Nigeria where corruption, is a reward, for those that are holding public office and that are also doing the bidding of certain interests that have placed them there. So what we are saying in that sense is that whether presumption of innocence or no presumption of innocence, resigning to allow for a thorough investigation, ICPC may want to call for fines, may want to call for records of account to see how the agency has been managed. Remember, this is a man that mishandled subsidy. Under Farouk, they told us that they were paying over 18 million naira as daily subsidy for importation of petroleum products that were never imported in this country.
Let's hear from the Kabari so that we'll go.
Marked that agency, and you are saying that there will not be any need for him to resign.
All right,
there is urgent need
Barry
for the president to suspend him.
Let's hear from the Kabari and so that we'll go.
The Kabari, please. Thorough and independent unbiased investigation, because he might need to suppress information. He's the man.
I understand the passion my learned friend has about this, but I continue to insist that we should allow the law to take its course. Nigerians should be patient and allow the ICPC, that is currently headed by an eminent lawyer, to investigate the claims. Let us not conclude that Mr. Farouk is guilty because Aliko Dangote have said so. A day will come too when people will write things about Aliko Dangote, and are we going to say Aliko Dangote is guilty because someone has come to say so? Let us allow a fair, thorough, and unbiased investigation.
All right.
Who knows? At the end of the day, Engineer Farouk may be vindicated.
Thank you very much. I was speaking with Barry Kingdom and Nekabari Anna, both of them legal practitioners. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in this evening.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to other story. President Donald Trump has signed a new proclamation tightening entry restrictions to the U.S. for nationals from countries seen as high risk due to poor screening and information sharing practices. Nigeria is now among 15 countries facing partial travel restrictions. This follows Trump's earlier designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged Christian persecution. The updated list maintains full entry bans on 12 countries and adds 5 more: Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria. Now, here's a list of countries that have given Nigeria visa bans between 2014 and 2025. Full suspensions. In 2018, Seychelles, the restriction was holiday travel bans for all Nigerians. It was a short-term visitor visas for holiday purposes were suspended for Nigerian passport holders. That was in 2018. In Ethiopia, 2021, e-visas and visa on arrival options were halted for Nigerian travelers, that they must obtain physical embassy sticker visas before they could enter Ethiopia. That was in 2021. In 2014, there was a partial visa suspension. Turkey, e-visas were restricted to holders of valid UK, US, or Schengen visas. All other Nigerian applicants required sticker visas. If you had an e-visa, if you had a US or UK visa or a Schengen visa, you get an e-visa, but any other one had to be a sticker visa. In 2025, now immigrant and non-immigrant visas as a B, F, M, and J for Nigerian nationals were suspended effective January 1, 2026. Now, that was, again, partial visa restrictions. But structural barriers, the United Arab Emirates in 2022, transit visas were halted. Entry was subject to mandatory DVN processing. heightened scrutiny and proof of minimum of $10,000 in the bank for Nigerian passport holders. In 2024, in the United Kingdom, the dependents were barred for Nigerian students and care workers. An intensified applicant profiling and financial scrutiny was also being enforced in 2024 for those seeking UK visas. Now, that's some information about Nigeria, countries that put either partial or full bans on traveling for Nigerian passport holders. Now, moving on to other things. The National Counter-Terrorism Center has launched the Safe Zone project aimed at healing, protecting, and reintegrating women affected by violence and insecurity back into the society. The event, which took place in Abuja, marks the official launch of the initiative designed to address the rising insecurity and violence women and girls face across the country. Our correspondent, Blessing Akibe, compiled this report.
As Nigeria continues to grapple with insecurity, terrorism, trafficking, and sexual violence, women and girls have borne an excessive share of the consequences. In Abuja, stakeholders gathered to unveil the Safe Zone project, an initiative designed to create a protective space where survivors are heard, healed, and repositioned as agents of peace and community recovery.
This Connect network is meant to have a reach to them. Let them speak out. If they need counseling, let them go through counseling. And we're also trying to see a way to get them to fend for themselves, rebuild themselves, rehabilitate them, and have that resilience to such threats.
The Safe Zone project is an initiative that seeks to reintegrate women back into the society, especially women who have suffered terrorism, kidnapping, extreme violence, and what have you. It is not enough to just bring them back. It is about deliberately looking out for them so that they are socially and financially and even mentally reintegrated properly.
Experts say the project will also serve as a coordinating platform to ensure affected women receive the support needed for recovery and successful reintegration into the society.
So we're going to be like an umbrella to ensure that the affected women are reached and all that they need to recover and to rehabilitate and to reintegrate back into the society is done. So we'll be monitoring the project.
In Africa, we focus our training on the male child. We even teach them combat and karate and everything, have survival skills, but women do not have survival skills. So this is part of reintegrating them, telling them that, look, all hope is not lost, giving them the necessary training and sustainable goal plan for the future.
As Nigeria searches for lasting solutions to insecurity, partners say that the Safe Zone project represents a long-term commitment to ensuring that no survivor is left behind.
A presidential team led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, faced a hostile crowd during the TIP Day celebrations in Benue State. Professor Yowesi Haya, a member of the delegation, said the group was met with chants of "No Alia, No Benue," disrupting their attempt to deliver President Tinubu's message. The delegation, which included top federal officials and TIP leaders, had to leave both Makodi Airport and the Gboko venue due to rising tensions. A youth was reportedly stabbed during the chaos. I'm now being joined by Senator Yowesi Haya, former High Commissioner to Canada and Ambassador to Mexico. Thank you for joining us, Prof.
Thanks for having me, and welcome to Abuja.
One would think that, a day like the TIP Day, which was supposed to be a day of celebration, would have just been that. What went wrong?
I believe that everything went wrong.
When you say everything, what would you, how?
Yes, because it's not as if I would want to do an anatomy of the events before or after or the planning. I have no problem with that. What went wrong was basically a moral ecology which has been developing in the state, and not just the state. It has enveloped this country to such a level that if an elder like me does not speak about it, then we will be normalizing bad behavior. And when you normalize a bad ecology, then that becomes the normal. And what we saw was a systematized disrespect to the office of the president, who was represented by the secretary to the government of the federation,
who was a former governor of the state,
who was a 2 times governor of that state, who was a 3 times senator in that state, who was a minister representing that state, and today holds the position of secretary to the government of the federation. And if you look at the executive arm of government, that is the first appointment that the president made when he took power, because the position of the secretary of the government is significant, not just because of that position, but also because the present occupant of that seat happened to have been a friend of the president. They were governors together. They were founders of the party together. They have been together for a long time. So sending him to his people on this very important day was a show of solidarity by the president, and his message was so resonant. He was actually going down memory line and praising the Tiv people for their contribution to national development and to the unity of this country. It was a beautiful message. But from the beginning, there was a different narrative being developed, which is that bad moral ecology, which made me to talk about it.
Because you said from the beginning there was something else that appeared contrary to what you were there to do, deliver a good message, a resonant message from the president. Now, you've used this phrase a couple of times, moral ecology.
Yes.
It's like it's gone. It's wearing out or worn out. The moral status. Is that what you're implying? That the level of respect and morality in the society is almost eroded?
I am saying that every government, every leadership, and I've been teaching leadership for a while now, and I do know that every leader has a responsibility to develop a moral ecology for his people. It determines the way in which the leadership is able to couch respect, truthfulness, dignity. A moral ecology determines the way in which the leaders teach or show an example of how society can live together. Government can provide for the people, but the people themselves need to build a good society. And to build a good society, you have to evolve a moral ecology, which if it is good, the society is happy. If it is bad, everybody is upset, and the bad behavior...
Would the development of that moral ecology be rested on one individual?
No.
Being the governor? Or is that it has to be at different levels of development? And knowing that within a state, for instance, we have different levels of leadership.
Everybody within the society must come together, but somebody at the top must weave. A moral ecology is woven by various sectors of the society, and it rests on an evolution of a culture that makes the people believe in themselves, believe in respecting one another, believe in developing a goodness, determine what is good or bad. But when society makes the bad the norm, and much of what is happening in the country today It's normalizing bad behavior when thugs, when killing, when massive amount of people are in IDP camps. We have normalized it. It's not an aberration anymore. So society must know that certain things should not be tolerated, and bad behavior should not be tolerated. Incivility should not be tolerated. Disrespect should not be tolerated. So, in that case, society evolves into decency, and everybody is happy.
So, Prof, this conversation right now, I'm tempted to take it out of, not to limit it to Benue State.
No,
but to take it across the country.
Across the country, if you will.
The moral ecology, the eroding moral ecology is across the country. And then some will say it's a product of the example set by the elders.
Leadership. Not elders per se, because elders in certain societies where elders are respected, then the elders have an onus to lead by example. If we, the elders, have shown such bad behavior, then we should be held responsible. But if a new set of leaders over the years dethrone the elders and set up new rules and regulations that are inimical to a good society, it means they are determining their own moral ecology. They are determining the way they dress, the way they speak, how they dismiss others as non-people, how they set up a society being in a combative mode. Instead of cooperation, is competition and combat. So across the country, yes, there's a situation which the country needs to build an ecology of unity. First and foremost, tribalism is a bad ecology. It is, my tribe is bigger than yours, our own is better than your own. And so there's an issue of a moral rearmament that is needed in this country. And our responsibility as elders is to point it out anytime, anywhere it takes place. If you are quiet about it, if we don't talk about it, it means you are accessory to it and you have acceded to it.
Okay, Prof, permit me to ask you to just step back a bit and give us if you can, a vivid account of what happened on that day, as briefly as possible, how it impacts on the reputation of Benue and the nation as a whole.
Well, what I am trying to say is that anywhere there is an occasion for festivity, an occasion for cultural revival, an occasion for happiness and effervescence in the cultural mood, it's a place to be happy. It's a place to build community. It's a place where we can relate to one another, because when we don't build relationships, we stay as silos. And people who are in government, the opportunity that society has to come face to face with them and treat them as human beings is that collective effervescence during festivals like the one that we had. So at that occasion, all positions should have been
put aside,
opened up to society. They were giving chieftaincy titles to some people too on that day, and some were not given chieftaincy titles. But those who were not given chieftaincy were also coming to rejoice with their brothers and a sister who was to be so honored. So it's an occasion where you respect, at the same time you open up. So if the president is coming, you give him an acceptance of his position and allow him his position, give him an appropriate seat. If he has a delegation, make sure the delegation is properly set. Make sure they are properly met at their entry point, not met with insults and hooligans shouting.
Professor, we would have to let it hang here for now. I want to thank you so much. Senator Yowesi is a former High Commissioner to Canada and Ambassador to Mexico. Thank you for coming in. And we do hope that this matter of moral ecology can find a way around it, not just across the country, from the youngest to the oldest,
the country
get around
needs
to rebuilding our country.
To create a new moral ecology.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you. And news just coming in has it that President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to approve the nominations of 2 new chief executives for the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. The request followed the resignation of Engineer Farouk Ahmed of the NMDPRA and Gbenga Komolafe of the NUPRC. Both officials were appointed in 2021 by former President Buhari to lead the 2 regulatory agencies created by the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. To fill these positions, President Tinubu has written to the Senate requesting expedited confirmation of Orishameyiwa Amorisero and Eyeson as CEO of NUPRC and Engineer Seidu Aliyu Mohammed as CEO of NMDPRA. The 2 nominees are seasoned professionals in the oil and gas industry. Eyeson, a graduate of economics from the University of Benin, spent nearly 33 years with an NNPC and its subsidiaries. She retired as Executive Vice President Upstream between 2023 and 2024 and previously served as Group General Manager Corporate Planning and Strategy at NNPC from 2019 to 2023. Engineer Mohammed, born in 1957 in Gombe, graduated from Ahmadu Bello University in 1981 with a bachelor's in chemical engineering. He was announced today as an independent non-executive director at Seplat Energy. His prior roles include managing director of Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company and Nigeria Gas Company, as well as chair of the boards of West African Gas Pipeline Company, Nigeria NLNG subsidiaries, and NNPC Retail. He also served as Group Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer, Gas and Power Directorate, where he provided strategic leadership for major gas projects and policy frameworks, including the Gas Master Plan, Gas Network Code, and contributions to the Petroleum Industry Act. Engineer Mohammed played a pivotal role in delivering key projects such as the Escravos-Lagos pipeline expansion and the Ajokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline and the Nigeria LNG train. Fresh fighting between the M23 armed group and the Congolese army in South Kivu province is triggering a new wave of displacements in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, says violence has forced tens of thousands of civilians to flee their homes, many crossing the border into neighboring Burundi. At least 64,000 refugees have so far arrived in Burundi, and aid agencies warn that the number is expected to rise as the clashes continue.
Ni ngumu, hakuna nafasi ya kunyambia, chakula hakuna, kutafuta makuni, mai, hata nafasi ya kukogea hakuna hata. Tunalala mulongo hivi, hakuna nyumba. Mvula jana manake tulilovana. Na njoo hivyo hivi watoto viato, viatu ya kula hata tungali njala mpaka hivi. Tunaenda tunatafuta wenye tutalomba. Hivi nilishaenda na lomba banipatie sombe. Bakanipatia nikakutana papa.
Doctors in England staged their 14th strike in under 3 years on Wednesday as the resident staff walked out over pay and job concerns. The 5-day stoppage follows a deadlock in negotiations over a 26% rise, which medics say is needed to offset losses from inflation. This comes on top of a 28.9% increase already secured over 3 years after previous strikes. Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemns the action as irresponsible, warning it comes at a time when the NHS is struggling with a super flu outbreak.
He gave the doctors a 28.9% pay rise. What did he get in return? This morning, they've gone back on strike for the 3rd time. in the middle of winter, in the middle of the worst flu crisis in years. Mr. Speaker, this shouldn't be allowed. We already banned strikes by the police and the army. Why doesn't he put patients first, show some backbone, and ban doctors' strikes?
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear about the strikes. They're dangerous and utterly irresponsible. And my message to resident doctors is don't abandon patients, work with us to improve conditions and rebuild the NHS. But, Mr. Speaker, they left the NHS absolutely on its knees, waiting lists through the roof and confidence absolutely rock bottom.
A member of the House of Representatives, Abdul Samad Dasuki, representing Sokoto State, has raised concerns over alleged differences between Nigeria's newly gazetted tax reform laws and the versions passed by the National Assembly. Raising the issue as a matter of privilege, Dasuki said his review of House and Senate records showed material discrepancies with the gazetted copies. With implementation set to begin in January 2026, he warned that the issue poses constitutional and procedural risk that could undermine legislative authority. Dasuki called for an urgent review of all versions by the House to identify and correct any inconsistencies. The Speaker acknowledged the concern and assured lawmakers that the matter would be addressed. And the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has obtained a federal high court order in Lagos to detain a merchant vessel, MV San Antonio, its captain and 20 crew members, following the seizure of 25.5 kilograms of cocaine at Apapa seaport. The vessel arrived from Brazil on December 6, 2025, and the drugs were found hidden in its hatch after cargo discharge. The multinational crew remains in NDLEA custody alongside the seized narcotics. Justice Frida Nkemakonam Ogazi approved a 14-day detention pending investigations and possible charges. The agency said the seizure follows a similar interception in November involving another Brazil-bound vessel, highlighting rising maritime drug trafficking risks. And that's all on the 6th edition for today, but here's a recap of our major stories. We told you that the Nigeria Labour Congress led a nationwide demonstration over rising insecurity, and that continuous fighting in eastern DR Congo is forcing thousands into Burundi. We also told you the UK resident doctors staged a walkout over a pay dispute amid what's considered a superflu crisis. Let's hear from you. We'd like you to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp numbers showing on your screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Neota Igbe.